Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given us this beautiful Jumatul Mubarak in the blessed month of Shawwal, for the Jummah Salah to come together. I recited the ayah from Surah Al-Nahl, Inna Allah ya'murukum bil-'adl. Verily, Allah enjoins al-'adl, that is the justice, and worshipping none but Allah alone. This is also for the 'adl, because only Allah deserves to be worshipped. And ihsan, that is to be patient in performing your duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in accordance with the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in the perfect manner. Ihsan is described by ulama is that when you do good, do it with such affection and such devotion that the person you're doing good to will get the benefit of it, and you beautify your act by being kind and generous and giving help to the kith and kin. That is the second job. Every Muslim have obligation to take care of his family, his kith and kin, the brothers, sisters, the parents, the children, the grandchildren, the cousins, the relative, the community. That is an obligation. And Allah has ordered that you give them wealth, visiting, looking after them, and any other kind of help, and forbid you from the fuhsh. Al-fahsh is the evil deed or illegal sexual intercourse or relation, or the disobedience of parents, or doing idol worshipping, or making partners with Allah in the worship, and to tell the lies, and to give false witness, to kill a life without right. Al-munkar, that is all that is prohibited by Islamic law, a polytheism of any kind, or disbelief of every kind of evil deed, and baghi, and that is all kind of oppression, rebellions from the command of Allah and the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He admonishes you that you may take heed from this. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. The next ayah, which is ayah number 91 from Surah Al-Nahl, Allah says, وَأُوفُوا بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ, and fulfill your covenant, the contract with Muslims and the believers have with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the bay'ah which we took, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. This pledge of Islam, that no matter what, we are not going to leave Islam. We can hide our Islam. We don't have to be screaming on the street and shouting and imposing, but we have to stay in the iman of La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. When you are covenanted, and break not oath after you have confirmed them, and indeed you have appointed Allah your surety. So when we take Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as for our surety, we need to make sure that we do not violate the trust with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Verily, Allah knows what you do. So today's topic is about the justice and the serving the mankind. As you may have noticed last few times when I've come, we're talking about serving the world. And a popular perception among Islam, Muslims particularly, but other faith also, everybody thinks that I deserve justice. But we do not think everybody else deserves justice also, whether that person is in Islam or not in Islam. And Islam is the only faith, to my knowledge, I'm a Muslim, I only can talk about my faith, as our faith teaches us that do justice to anybody. That we have to, as I was talking in previous Jummah about, up till recently, some 100 years ago, world would come to Islam and Muslim for being served with the justice. It is recently happening that Muslims have a trust on a non-Muslim judge more than the Muslims. And the world, which is now having amnesty and human rights and all those, that was our deal. And these were the situations which happened when the non-Muslim was given benefit of doubt over a Muslim. Even it was Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhu or Umar ibn Khattab, even Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When he was brought to the judgment by the person against him, and the person was judging him as a human, And that convinced those non-believing people to embrace Islam. That justice is something which should be above everybody. And then when obviously there's a matter of dispute. Whenever the justice or judgment is needed, there's a two-party of dispute. And Surah Al-Hujurat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described, وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ قُتِلُوا فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا فَإِن بَغَتْ إِحْدَاهُمَا عَلَى الْأُخْرَى فَقَاتِلُوا الَّتِي تَبْغِي حَتَّى تَفِيءَ إِلَى أَمْرِ اللَّهِ فَإِنْ آتَتْ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا بِالْعَدْلِ وَاقْسِطُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُقْسِطِينَ. So, and if two parties or groups among the believers fall, now, min al-mu'mineen, the word is mu'mineen used in this ayah, but the justice is for everybody. But when two parties are Muslims, any Muslim dispute should not be taken to non-Muslim only because we are told to take care of our own. If we will not take care of our own, then who will do it? And this is why there was a very good question was asked by one of the intellectual in Pakistani television. He said, why there are traitors among us? Why nobody ever does be found traitor among the other people? There was a reason. When you force a person to the point where they either pick up arms and fight, or they go to somebody else for the relief. How many political asylum are given in the Western nation compared to the Muslim nation? It's just a simple question, not of pointing fingers. The reality is, we must be doing something wrong, or even if they were wrong, the one who are opposing, or those who are in power versus those who are not in power, they are being given so much difficult time to exist that they seek refuge outside. Or life was made so impossible for their existence that they have to leave the country to be somewhere else. And it was the time when non-Muslims used to seek the refuge in Islamic State. This is something to be understood. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and if two parties or groups among the believers falls in fighting, then make peace between them both. Peace is between both, not one. Both have to be satisfied. But if one of them outrages against the other, that they start fighting and unreasonably argumentative and being on the wrong side, then what is that? Then fight you all, not just one or two, you all against the one with which the outrage till it complies with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The justice must be served that the unjust, what Umar radiallahu ta'ala said when he became Amir al-Mu'mineen, if I disobey Allah's and Rasulullah's command, how are you going to correct me? They took out their sword, they said with this. When Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu was Amir al-Mu'mineen, and Muawiyah radiallahu anhu disobeyed him, he was a one person versus the state. And that was Ali radiallahu ta'ala was not by himself imposing upon people. People came to him to make him Amir al-Mu'mineen. And he said, I will not take the bay'ah till the Ashab Badr, who are forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will take the bay'ah first. And they took the bay'ah. Even with that, some of the very prominent Sahaba, Talha wa Zubair radiallahu anhum, they did not take the bay'ah, they left. But that was not a war against them. He said, you don't take bay'ah, take your time. When Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala became Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali radiallahu ta'ala took his time to take the bay'ah because there was something of the not time to go to detail. So when somebody disobeys and does not accept the majority rule, then that person, and rule of majority is the public. That is the democracy of Muslims. Then if it complies, that party who was against all, if it complies, then make reconciliation between them justly and equitably. Verily Allah loves those who are equitable. So, what's my point with this discussion here? My point is, we as a Muslim Ummah across the globe have dismissed our responsibility to serve the mankind. And the most important service is serving the justice. Often we hear, being from Pakistan, we can only say the Pakistani comments which know that it was better under the British rule than Muslims rule, because they were serving all people with justice. But that used to be a statement about Muslims before British colonized Muslims. They destroyed the whole system and they implanted a system of their life, and still certain rules which were made to rule subcontinent are still being applied by people in the current Muslim government.
Yes.
They were supposed to be subjugating the masses under the colonized rulers. And recently there was one thing, if you say anything against the government, you could be taken to the prison and indefinitely and could be tried for treason. If a Muslim have an objection about his government or his rulers, they should have a right to speak, but there should be appropriate way to speak. And that is also commanded, how you approach to the administration or the ruling parties. How do you deal with them? With respect, with kindness. Do not destroy the public assets and the property or the government assets, because they all belong to the Muslims. And a very interesting thing happened when I first went to Egypt and I was in Cairo University in the dorm. There were kids from the Ikhwan al-Muslimin. They were also college students. Being a Pakistani, we were arrogant in our way. So we said, your government does not do this, and you guys don't come out on the street and do any protest. You know, the brother, he was very wise. He said, this belongs to us. And the government belongs to us. We don't agree with what they're doing. It doesn't mean we're going to destroy the property which is paid by our own money. But first thing what we do, and particularly I can talk about certain countries, and my country is one of the leading countries. Anytime there's a little issue, we destroy a person's bike. The poor guy was making living from riding on it. He has a family to feed. And that innocent man has nothing to do with whatever the government policy. So we need to understand that we do not have to be violent. We are a very frustrated nation. The justice issue is that we are not even taking part of the judiciary system. Who runs the politics in this world today? There's a particular graduate who runs the politics, who are lawmakers, who are the politicians. They are all lawyers. They go to the law school, they learn the law of the nation, of the country. And yesterday I was talking to one of my patients, and he's a school teacher. And I asked him, what subject do you teach? He said, I teach history. I said, do you teach American history or you teach the world history? He said, really, recently the system has updated and they want us to teach children the US laws, how the government works. If one understands the system of government, then they will be taking part in the system of government and be active and will be serving the country. And this is what supposed to be taught to us. Unfortunately, whatever goes on, we as a Muslim have resigned. Totally resigned. 59 Muslim countries, none of them have a right of a citizen to be part of the government. Our government treats us like they are Anglo-Indian rulers and we are slave and subject. And we find better comfort and freedom of breath and feeling comfortable when we return to US after being traveling to those countries.
Yes.
If you travel to any Middle Eastern country, if you're in a Gulf country, if you say one word against king, you could be beheaded. No choice. You're beheaded. That's the law. What kind of law is that? If you object the government operation that they're not doing something, and I was told that at the airport because I was objecting about the flight connection and all that. I said, what kind of system this government runs? He said, sir, be mindful of your language. If you speak against government, you're speaking against king, and that means you'll be beheaded. Your government cannot protect you because you're in this land.
Allah.
Subhanallah. You know, you're a traveler, but you cannot speak. So this is how we are. And when you come to this country, if somebody pulls you on the side, you can say, I have a right to have a lawyer before you speak. I'm not saying they're the best, but what I'm saying is a comparison, what we find here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability. So my point is, we as a Muslim community should take active part in every level of administration of the country, because we are the only people who are commanded by Allah, serve the mankind, do the justice for the people. And we are far from that because we are all busy in making our living and we are not united. If we have a dispute, every masjid dispute was settled in US court. And most suing people were Muslim against Muslim. This is the funny part, because I just don't like you, or I don't like this administration. Yet when they come in administration, they don't do any different. But each party accused of first thing, they are stealing money. Wallahi, I've been in the masajid for 30 years. There's not enough money to steal from the masjid. And they all are volunteer. They put their time, their efforts, their money, and at the end of the day, everybody started hating them. And we are very quick getting out of this. Did you see that? See that, what they are doing? There's no discipline, there's no order, there's no volunteer. There's no volunteers, there's no service, there's no civic sense. How could we expect to be served as if we are the royalty and the rest of them are our slaves? So we have to change our mindset. And whenever the group came in, there are 7 groups. I don't want to say on the pulpit because that will be offensive to somebody. There are 7 groups among Muslims. When you open masjid, community pays for it. Everybody is devoted. Brothers, we love each other. Then suddenly some brother will come. Brother, you were doing this. Is it in the hadith? In the Sahih hadith? Can you give me a reference? Brother, for God's sake, I'm not a scholar of hadith. We are trying to run a community center. And then they will start objecting little by little because they're coming with the agenda. They want you to take over your masjid which was paid for by the community. Because that's now built. Everything is done. And now they want to just grab it and hold it. And this is how it happened. Then the community, we are not fighters, so people leave. People leave. And parents leave, children leave. So we are losing our community. But the most important part is, as a community, we are living as a minority, and there are other minorities who are part of the government system. They are running the judiciary and serving the justice for the people. We are not leaving this country. Alhamdulillah, our children are not going to go anywhere. And they are going to be here as our forefathers came and whatever who are local will become Muslim. People don't leave. So we need to make sure our children get involved in the local government system, local political system, and community service. If we will not do it, then somebody will fill in the gap, and we have seen other minorities in this country have taken advantage. Do you know what is politics in the Quran is used? Is state. The word in Quran, siyasa is not a word used. The word is amanah. Amanah. State is amanah for the Muslims. If you see the hadith of Rasulullah and the Quranic words, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talk about the administration and the country, He talks like it's an amanah, it's a trust. As a Muslim, land is a trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should come to serve. And we have no concept. This word amanat, I learned 2 weeks ago. I never knew this. And I'm sure many of us, we do not know. Maybe Alim will know, but we do not know. The hadith in the Quran talk about the state, politics as amanat. It's an amanat of Allah to the mankind. The serving the mankind is the amanat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and trust to the country. Trust taking over the country. When Muslims went to Ethiopia in the Najashi's time, they assisted the king with the advisory board. They even took part in the battle with him. And many other places when Muslims are in minority and they become the ruler. In many places where the Muslim are majority are not being ruled by Muslim. And they were serving the people, and people were not in trouble. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this Surah Al-Imran remind us, inshallah next Jummah our talk time is limited, وَصَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ أَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Run, rush, excel, compete to the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to achieve it. For the forgiveness from your Lord and the Jannah, which is stretched beyond what is space between earth and the skies, which is prepared for the people of taqwa, who are conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those are the people who spend in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they are having a affluence, a comfortable life, or when they are stricken with hardship, or they are restricted in their financial other things. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ, and they swallow their anger. وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and they forgive the people who have done wrong to them. Forgiving is only against the person who has done wrong. If he has done right, why there is a forgiveness? So good is a character, ihsan, is when you did wrong to me and with my most anger I swallow it, which is most difficult part. So difficult. If you have ever been angry against somebody of your friend who violated your trust. And when we are violated, when we expect, If we don't expect, we never get angry. If we expect that you are my child and I have a flat tire on the road and you drove by me and you never stopped, 100 cars will pass by, I will never be angry. But if your car passed by my car flat on the road, tire, no matter how much justice you will give, I'll say you are blind, you didn't see me. I was standing right there. And if I call and you didn't answer my call, no matter if I ever call anybody, but expectations. If we expect for somebody, and that's what, so we are expecting rather than giving, we are always expecting. Giving a benefit of doubt as a Muslim is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Allah loves those who do the ihsan. So it is our job to do the ihsan rather than expect from others. And then further, time is limited. I wanted to read, there are many other ayah I wanted to talk about. So, another ayah, only juz al-ayah, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شِنَانُ قَوْمٍ أَلَا أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا. So, you should not, out of the reason of your hatred or enmity, shanan is a enmity of a nation, that you do not serve the justice. Today we think that Muslims are being unjustly treated in the world. But how many of us are sitting in the justice position? So we are becoming a useless, wasted masses who have no value, who have no place and nobody hears us. Although the laws which world have taken are from our Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sunnah. All the charter of United Nations about the humanity, about the nature, about the protection of individual and the community and the right of self-defense is the command of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. United Nations didn't exist then. US did not exist then. Europe was not a superior nation then, except Rome was ruling all over the world. And the Persian, there were two superpowers in those days. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam gave the charter of humanity in the Khutbah Hajjatul Wada. And other nations took it and applied that, and we are constantly saying, look, this is our Rasulullah said, our Rasulullah said. But we should be sitting there to educate the people about it. And this is something to understand. You know the tassel people wear in the graduation in high school? Where it comes from? It is from the mark in the book Quran. You see the Quran has a marker? This? That was Muslim invention to see where we were reading Quran from. They put it here and then they graduate, they move it to the other side. The cap they wear, that was the Muslim imamah. And the gown they wear, that comes from Muslim. It is our elders who made this thing and knowledge to the mankind, and today we look at them, maybe this is something foreign. We should feel pride. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the wisdom and ability to come together, and we should only talk about one part as far as I see. I'm not a politician, I'm not into politics, but I think many among us have a very intelligent brain to be a lawyer, to be a politician, to be a lawmaker, and give our 2 cents when they are making the law, what should be in the law of this land. In democracy, majority rules. When we talk good, everybody listens. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam is written in the Washington DC as one of the greatest lawgiver in the history of mankind. His name, they have made a statue of him and named it. But that is one of the biggest, greatest of the lawgiver in the history of mankind. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept us.